الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله، وخير الهدى هدى محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. After praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sending immense greetings and salutations upon the final Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who came from amongst his teachings to make the good substances halal for them, وَيُحَرِّمُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْخَبَائِثِ, and to make forbidden the impure, the immoral substances. And the journey that we began previously, looking at that khubath, looking at that al-khaba'ith, the evil substance of tobacco that we find, whereby we concluded that this is an opening drug or an opening journey to the following muharramat that we find that many, previously it would be some of our youth are involved in. But it's quite sad to state that the masses of the youth are involved in the taking of drugs. And at a later stage they begin to repent and return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas previously it was very rare that a person would dibble and dabble, indulge in these evil substances and would stay away from them. But the tide has turned. That which we began to be worried about has become prevalent upon us or in front of us. That masses of the Muslim youth will live that evil life. And some of them die in that evil life. And some of them, as we find, Allah forbid, كل إنسان يبعث على ما مات عليه. Every individual will be resurrected on the way that they die. If a person dies in a state of ma'siyah, in a state of disobedience, in a state of haram, فيبعث على ذلك, will be resurrected upon that. Person dies in a state of ta'ah, in a state of obedience, in a state of hajj, state of salah, qira'at al-Qur'an, or siyam, state of reciting the Quran, fasting, performing the pilgrimage, will be resurrected in that manner in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And thus we find that some people may find it very troublesome that why are we discussing such topics upon the mimbar of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The whole focus of the maw'idah, the admonition, is to address that which concerns people, that we begins to reform people and bring them back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this kalam and this speech that we find is only following the methodology of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who had been given the ability to speak to mala'ul qawm, speak to the elite people in a language that they understood. Wa ahlul badi, Bedouin Arabs, tribesmen, simple individuals able to address topics and speak their language. Thus he was given what is known as jawami'ul kalim, concise words, fasaha, balagha, the ability to address with certain words that penetrate into the heart and the mind of the individual. That is the sunnah that person prays to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It give us glimpses of those precious words, the ability to penetrate into the hearts of mankind, to begin them to reflect upon the evil around them, the evil within them. And likewise we find that some of the companions also posed that question. As Hudayfa radiyallahu anhu, people would ask about the khair, about the good things, and would ask about the bad things, to increase in knowledge and to be able to stay away from it. وَلَقَدْ صَدَقَ الشَّاعِرُ, how truthful was the poet we mentioned, whoever doesn't know evil from good will eventually fall into that evil. جَدِيرٌ أَنْ يَقَعَ فِيهِ عرفت الشر لا للشر ولكني تلافيه. I began to study evil, not for the sake of wanting to indulge in evil, but be able to recognize what is evil. And whoever doesn't recognize what is evil, جَدِيرٌ أَنْ يَقَعَ فِيهِ, will eventually fall into that evil. So the only reason we address such topics is to make ourselves to be abreast, to be aware what takes place inside our society. Because so many individuals, they think that Ahlul Ilm, people of Da'wah, don't know what's taking place inside our society. Or they're ghafilun, heedless of what takes place on our streets or inside our society. Real people of understanding, they have a deep understanding of what takes place inside their community, are able to address the social ills, the social problems, and begin to offer solutions towards those problems. And as the Quran also mentions about the use of one's language and ability, whereby Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions at the beginning of Surah Ibrahim, the 14th chapter of the Quran, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن رَسُولٍ, we never sent a messenger to his people except for the language that they understand, لِيُبَيِّنَ لَهُمْ, to begin to explain to them the problems that they're facing. And likewise we find وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ خَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاخْتِلَافُ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ وَأَلْوَانِكُمْ إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِلْعَالِمِينَ. Indeed, the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the use of your speech, your tongues, your languages, your colors, are signs for people who have knowledge, people who have understanding. That a person is using this speech bestowed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As we know that the most precious thing that's been given to the human being, عَلَّمَهُ الْبَيَانِ, given the ability to the person to speak, to express themselves. So that's when a person sees munkar, sees evil, tries to remove that evil, or begin to speak out against that evil, to remind people or to uplift that blame, that living inside this society, what efforts have we taken to remind people or address the people inside our society about the harms that we're facing on a daily basis. And as we mentioned, that smoking is a gateway to the opening of the taking of these hard substances. It's been proven medically and proven socially as well that many people who begin their journey with tobacco will eventually begin to indulge in harder drugs, in harder substances. And the ulama have discussed this previously. وَعَلَى رَأْسِهِمْ Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah in his Fatawa in volume 4, some page 292. Because some people, they begin to think that ulama, they don't know about what's taking place inside a society. Centuries ago he wrote in his Fatawa, in volume 4, some page 292. Hemp clouds the mind. And this is just another word for cannabis, for marijuana. Many young individuals also at the side point ask this question, where in the Quran does it say that the taking of drugs is haram? That's what many young people, they always pose these questions. Where in the Quran does it say that drugs is haram? Where does it use specifically the words that we see around us inside our society? If it says it inside the Quran clearly, explicitly, then I'll give it up. And this is a lack of understanding of the language of the Quran. وَمَنْهَجُ الْقُرْآنِ وَأُسْلُوبُ الْقُرْآنِ. The Quran is far away from this rhetoric that we find around us. The Quran, focuses upon certain kalimat, certain words that have a meaning that stand until the end of time. So in the Quran mentions, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِنَّمَا الْخَمْرُ. Oh, you believe indeed inside al-khamr, in the taking of liquor, of alcohol, but a deeper meaning of intoxicants. Because according to the Arabic language, al-khamr ma ghab al-aql, ma yughattibu al-aql. Whatever takes your mind away. Whatever takes your mind away, that is something which is an intoxicant. Clouds your mind, as Ibn Taymiyyah mentioned, anything that clouds your mind, any intoxicant that clouds your mind, it becomes something which is haram. So the Quran highlights al-khamr, this is a key word. Anything that clouds your mind becomes something which is forbidden. And likewise, we find a principle inside the Sharia, inside the Hadith. مَا أَسْكَرَ كَثِيرُهُ فَقَلِيلُهُ حَرَامٌ. Whatever intoxicates you inside large amounts, فَقَلِيلُهُ حَرَامٌ. In small amounts, it's forbidden. Because some Muslim youth, they want to say that maybe small amounts of these substances is something which is is something is allowed. Because I'm in control of my mind. I'm in control of myself. Fallacy. Most of these individuals see their journey, what begins to happen to these individuals, of being indulged inside these substances. So the Sharia is quite clear, explicit, that whatever, any form of musakkar, any form of thing that clouds your mind, becomes something which is forbidden. And likewise, if I linguistically, the word khimar, what the woman wears to cover, which goes upon the head and covers her face, covers her body, flows down upon her, has a great link between the word that we find khamar as well, what covers the mind, whatever shrouds the mind. Anything that takes away your senses, takes away your ability to focus, keeps you in the right state of mind, becomes something which is forbidden. And likewise, if a person comes to salah in that state, لا تقربوا الصلاة وأنتم سكارى حتى تعلموا ما تقولون. Don't come to the prayer in a state of intoxication till you know what you're saying. And what do we find among some of our youth? It sounds very strange, but some individuals, may Allah guide them, even before coming Yawm al-Jum'ah, will smoke something and they come for Yawm al-Jum'ah. Qillatu taqwa, lack of devotion, lack of fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even this blessed day. Don't have that much control in my own self, either before Jum'ah or after Jum'ah, that you think that I'm entering into such a spiritual environment. But as we mentioned, some of this has become something which is adi, something which is habitual, common practice for us. But when non-Muslims quote these facts and these figures, we quickly begin to awaken. The Class of Misuse Drugs Act 1971 that we find, classifying drugs in three forms: Class A, Class B and Class C. Class A drugs like heroin that we find, 7 years imprisonment if a person is caught with such drugs. Heroin goes back to Morpheus or morphine. Morpheus is the Greek god of mythology, the god of dreams, of hallucinations. You can see, begin to see, understand the link when people take these substances, hallucinate their minds to take them away from their problems, think that they're going to escape from this dunya. وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا وَنَحْشُرُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ أَعْمَى. Whoever stays away from the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's going to be dhiq. أول الضيق يكون على الدنيا لهؤلاء. The first restriction for those individuals will be upon this dunya. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will show them that the end of this journey is a wretched journey. A loss of their mind, their body, their soul, their iman. وَكَمْ مِنْ إِخْوَانِنَا لَيْسُوا بِبَعِيدٍ, not far away from here. At night you see them, ya ikhwa, see them walking around on the streets, begging from people, asking from people, picking up cigarette butts. هؤلاء إخواننا, our brethren in iman, our brethren walking in this manner. وَنَحْنُ مَا نَحْتَمْ, we don't care one bit. Close the doors upon them, it doesn't concern me. Yes, it may sound like being a vigilante. It's about time that we do become vigilantes, that we do become worried about our society. Because every other young individual, the only thing that they want to become is a drug dealer. Ask the masses of the youth, that's the only aspiration I have amongst the Muslim youth at the moment. That's the only thing they dream about. That lifestyle, that money, that prestige, that honor, that dignity, that people look up to me. You're actually a person of low aspirations. Low aspirations that you have within yourself. You want to uplift yourself. That people will begin to respect me. If I live this life, I possess this, that people begin to look up to me and begin to think that I'm a respectable individual. It's a life that will destroy you inside this dunya, in alanan, in front of everyone, not something that's in a state of secrecy. Destroy you in front of everyone. The second type of drug that we find is cocaine that we find, which are classified as a rich man's drug. When you read the history of this drug that you find, the opium wars that begin to take place, etc. In the 1960s began to instill crack and cocaine amongst the black people inside America. And these people get addicted to it and we begin to push them away. You know, something sounds very similar today. Strong Muslim areas. Strong Muslim areas. And we'll mention them like Tower Hamlets that you find. Warfare begins to take place amongst drug barons and drug dealers. And who are they? Muslims. And you know what the police do? They just ignore it. It's common practice, just ignore it. Just like what took place in the 60s and 70s. They let them fight amongst themselves. Let them just turn a blind eye to what takes place in our society. That's the reality of what's taking place inside our society. That people are spilling one another's blood over these substances. And the effects of these drugs that we find was classified as rich man's drug, takes you high and brings you straight back down to this dunya. Thousands can be spent in trying to find that alleviation, trying to find that peace. And the final form of drug that we find, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon those individuals, who stayed away from it. That has become once again a common practice. Marijuana that we find, cannabis that we find, declassified from a Class B drug to a Class C drug, because obviously the government doesn't understand the Sharia. They don't understand about principles of defending and helping people, helping society. Now they want to take it back from a Class C drug to a Class B drug, or want to follow what other countries are doing, like in Holland, to legalize it, Uruguay at the moment to legalize it, because they don't understand the Sharia. Their base is not based upon the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As we mentioned, maqasid Sharia is hifdul insan, to protect the human being, whether a person is Muslim or non-Muslim. You find that this drug that you find is common practice. Masses of the youth at the moment, they smoke this drug, think nothing of it, think it has no adverse effects upon them. It's been clearly proven medically. It creates schizophrenia, paranoia. It chews away your brain cells, kills your brain cells, takes away your rationality, your ability to judge. And years of taking these substances will break your mind away. And likewise, our parents need to be vigilant as well. There are some of our parents that don't seem to visualize or begin to see certain things, certain signs. And it's a great shame that we have to mention it upon the mimbar of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There are signs, clear signs here that you can see amongst your youth, amongst your children, on their fingertips, in their pockets, burning on their clothing, bloodshot eyes, thirst for food, hunger, being out late at night. All of this that we find, common practice amongst the mass of our youth. A sensible individual doesn't go out after Maghrib time, after Salat al-Isha. No sensible individual walks about on the streets. But what do we find on our streets? The masses of the youth walking about on the streets, from one step to another step, indulging inside these evil actions, till eventually becomes common practice. There's individuals inside our society, أكثر من 20 سنة, more than 20 years of their life, are addicted to these substances. Good individuals, from good backgrounds, from good families, good homes, good environments. But one individual introduced it. It became an addiction that remains with them for the rest of their life. So a person needs to see the dangers of this. Begin to see the people around them, begin to understand that this is going to take away your iman. And it's going to take away the iman of the people around us. If we don't begin to address these issues, we don't become over worried about these issues. How many individuals, also the trafficking of these substances that we find, look at what the Sharia says. Only that we find inside the Muslim lands, a few Muslim lands that we find like in Malaysia and Saudi Arabia, that we find the punishment for the trafficking of drugs is the death penalty. It's the death penalty for a person who traffics drugs. But what do we find here at times that takes place inside the society? A small slap on the wrist, or bailing oneself out, or making excuses that we find. And some individuals, may Allah guide them, they begin to say that we use this money for a good cause. Inna Allah tayyib wa la yaqbalu illa ma kana tayyiba. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pure and only accepts that which is pure.
And I'm sure we've all heard this principle, the end does not justify the means. It's actually based upon prophetic traditions. You can't live a life of evil, of haram. Accumulate that wealth. Create your empire. Create certain things. Give some money in charity. Or do charitable actions and then say this is for a good cause. If your foundation is haram, everything built upon that becomes haram. And now we find this strange phenomenon inside our society. That we take this wealth, we give it to an Islamic cause. We give it to the mujahideen. We give it for jihad fi sabilillah. Look at talbis iblis, look at the deception of the devil. Deception of the devil. These pure people don't need impure wealth in their lives. They are people who live with small elements, morsel of food inside their life that we can't imagine. Nahnu ba'ideen, we're far away from the life that they live. We dream about this life. We read about this life. Because one day, one night of that life, most of us would collapse. They know how to live their lives on small morsels of flesh, on few sips of water, through meager eating and drinking, nights of days of travel and journey that we find. They can sustain themselves. They don't need a haram wealth, a haram substances to go and say this is going to help them. And even this fallacy that we find that some people want to say about the people inside Afghanistan. Yes, there's a big problem of the poppy trade inside that country. We don't support the regime, we don't speak against the regime. But that which is clear about those people that took authority inside that country. Because some Muslims, they don't want to understand clearly. If there's any group of people who clamped down upon the trafficking of drugs inside that country, then it was those individuals. If there's any people who created a safe haven inside that country, then it was those individuals. If there's any people who create sanctity and respect for people inside that society, then it was those individuals. Yes, we may differ with them on so many other different things. But we have to respect certain things, that they tried certain things inside their life, based upon the Sharia. And as a side point, that country in its history has only twice ever been governed by outside the Sharia. For a small span of time, for a few years. In its history, only twice has it ever been governed outside of the Sharia. There are people who know what the Sharia is, what the Sharia demands, and what it encourages inside this society. But once again, as we live in the Western world, the only thing that we're infused is what these people want to teach us. That the Muslims are only interested in creating these substances to help their own causes. A Muslim is there to uproot evil, take away evil, and to stay away from spreading of evil. إن الذين يحبون أن تشيع الفاحشة في الذين آمنوا لهم عذاب أليم في الدنيا والآخرة. Those individuals want to spread vice, spread sin, spread corruption inside society. For them will be an evil punishment inside this dunya, and likewise inside the akhirah. وأقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولجميع المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وأصلي وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. As for the steps that a person can take inside their life, inside our lives, to encourage individuals to stay away from this evil way of life, amongst them obviously is firstly to remind them about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remind them about that day of that return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا تُرْجَعُونَ فِيهِ إِلَى اللَّهِ ثُمَّ تُوَفَّى كُلُّ نَفْسٍ مَا كَسَبَتْ وَهُمْ لَا يُظْلَمُونَ. Tell them to fear that day whereby all of us will return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And all of us will be asked about our actions we carried out upon this dunya. Thus we find that the person will say, مَا لِهَذَا الْكِتَابِ لَا يُغَادِرُ صَغِيرَةً وَلَا كَبِيرَةً إِلَّا أَحْصَاهَا وَوَجَدُوا مَا عَمِلُوا حَاضِرًا. Person say, woe upon this book. This book has not left anything small or anything large, except for it's documented it. Every single one of us will find our actions presented us on that day. So the first thing is to remind people about their belief, their conviction, Tawheed billahi subhanahu wa ta'ala, remind them to have that belief, strengthen their iman, and the rest becomes easy. When you tell them something is halal, something is haram, they begin to develop that inside their life. Create that fear, instill that fear, that consciousness, that devotion towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And likewise we find that work within your own souls, as we mentioned on many occasions. The person has their iman via their own soul, within their own self. They want to make that change, they want to become a better individual. They see the zulumat, they see the darknesses. They want to see the light. They want to come to the light, and they begin to abstain from it. And likewise measures inside our society to remove this evil. That all of us, every other individual, we know someone who may possibly be involved in the trafficking of drugs that we find. The highest level of goodness that we find is to remove those substances, providing it doesn't lead on to something, a bigger haram. But if a person's lived that life and they know these individuals, they have the influence, they have the power, they have the ability, the safest thing to do is to remove it from society, remove it from these individuals, remove it from them, take it away from them, and to give them a strong admonition that yes, maybe previously my life was based upon this, but now every single door I left open inside my life, I want to close it. Take the example of Khalid ibn Walid, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. An individual known for notorious drinking, gambling, all types of disbelief in his life. He was the only individual inside his life, the only individual who was able to attack the Prophet Muhammad directly, face to face, or a very close distance. He's the only individual. Yes, he was a disbeliever at that time. But there was some khair, some goodness inside this individual. That when he became a Muslim, he said, for every day and night in my life, every day and night I fought against him. Every day and night I'm going to fight for him. Every day and night you traffic the haram, place it inside your heart. Every day and night I'm going to fight against it. I'll kill my own self, but I won't see anybody else suffering in my life anymore. Kill your own self, but don't let your young children suffer. How many of our young youth at the moment, how many of them at the moment, we turn a blind eye? Heroin addicts, cocaine addicts, drug addicts, and we turn a blind eye. Because it doesn't affect me on a daily basis. Pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is not an overstatement. It's entered into every other home. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. Every other home, drugs have entered into that home. If I'm wrong, then correct me. If I'm exaggerating, let me know I'm exaggerating. Every other home at the moment is suffering from this evil. And we have to become proactive inside our lives to uproot the evil, take away the evil, speak about the evil, tell people to stay away from the evil. We want a good life for ourselves, good life for our community, a good life for all of us inside the akhirah, to rejoice and to return to be back as brethren inside the akhirah. That's what we want for all of us individuals, that we all rejoice inside the akhirah. That's the real success. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give that success inside this dunya. Whoever prays and remembers Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, carries out righteous actions, فَلَنُحْيِيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبًا, will give them a good life upon this dunya. They'll have a good life inside this dunya, may not possess many things, but the goodness, the sweetness of iman will be given to them, and the sweetness of the akhirah. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the tawfiq and ability to stand for that which is correct, to uproot and take away the evil, to exert our efforts to the best of our ability, to remind ourselves, to remind our brothers and sisters, to remind our society, to remind our people, to remind the Muslim Ummah, remind all of ourselves to stay away from the evil, مَا ظَهْرَ مِنْهَا وَمَا بَطَنَ, whatever is apparent of the evil and hidden of the evil, to encourage people to return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. مَنِ اهْتَدَى فَإِنَّمَا يَهْتَدِي لِنَفْسِهِ, whoever is guided for their own benefit. Whoever misguided, their misguidance is upon their own selves. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين ربنا اغفر لنا لإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين قوموا لصلاتكم يرحمكم الله